A number of Democratic presidential hopefuls have released their fundraising numbers, but there are still a handful of candidates we're anxiously waiting to see.
We are back with Andrew Feldman, Democratic strategist, and Julie Manchester, political reporter for The Hill. Guys, good to see you.
All
right, so let's put up what we've got so far. The newest ones out this morning are from Andrew Yang. He raised this quarter $10 million, which puts him right in league with kind of the heavy hitters here and beats out Cory Booker, who I pointed out has literally spent his entire adult life cultivating Wall Street donors, and Michael Bennett, who is also very much beloved in the donor circuit. Yet Andrew Yang raised much more than them. Overall, though, Julia, what do you make of what we know about the fundraising picture so far?
Right. So I think it shows. We haven't seen all the major candidates announced, so we're missing Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden.
Biden and Warren.
Yeah, and those are the candidates that we'll really have to compare these numbers to. But I think Bernie Sanders, a big win for him, still raising off of that minimum donation of what is it, $27, $18.
The lowest number.
Yes, exactly. So still shows that grassroots strength. Kamala Harris. Pretty consistent with what she's raised before. But
I think she's lucky she was able to hold on here.
Yes, exactly. So it wasn't that much of an improvement, but she was still consistent.
Yeah.
We recently have seen Michael Bennett's fundraising, $2.1 million. There are a lot of candidates who now will probably have a moment of reckoning where they need to sit down and figure out where their path forward is from here, because they're going to have a lot of donors asking them about where the path forward really is. But one thing about quarter three that we have to take into account is that it's normally a slower quarter in an off election year. People are on vacation. It's not it's not 2020 where people are more fired up. So that's just one caveat.
Really quick before we get to Andrew, or both of you actually, what's the scuttlebutt on where Biden's number is going to come in? Because there's all this reporting about how online he's totally tanked. They pulled basically all their online dollars, right? There was also reporting about how he raised almost all of his grassroots online money in the first week of his campaign. He's being eclipsed in certain respects in terms of media attention and sort of liberal Democratic establishment support by Elizabeth Warren. How are people thinking that his fundraising number is going to come in?
Well, I think Biden has been much more traditional in terms of fundraising. So I think
diplomatically put.
Yes.
She's a reporter.
So whatever we see, I think whatever the fundraising numbers are from Biden, it will show the strength of that traditional way of raising money.
I think he's not going to. I think he's going to come below Bernie.
Well, look, there is some scuttlebutt going on Twitter and in articles right now that he said at a fundraiser last week that he had something like 640,000 donors at an average of 40 something. A pop, and that calculated to, well, if that's the case, it would be around 10.4 million.
Yeah, which is Andrew Yang.
And then, of course, the campaign pushed back and said, well, that isn't the full picture of our fundraising. So we'll see. I think it will be.
What they also said, though, they said that's not the full picture. He'll have enough money to have a sustainable campaign or something like that. It wasn't like we're going to blow the doors out. Don't worry about it.
No, I think they need to tamp down expectations. But here's the challenge: they tamped down expectations the first go around, right? Like they teased it as the start of the campaign, and then they blew those expectations out of the water with 20.
So last quarter he raised. We can put up the Q2 numbers actually for context here. Last quarter he raised 22 million. And then we had Warren and Sanders 19 and 18, and Buttigieg at 25. He's fallen off this quarter, by the way, somewhat. Still raising a lot of money.
It's still really impressive for someone who's 37, who's never had a major office except for mayor of 100,000 person South Bend.
Here's the real question, though. If he falls sub 20, that has to be. I mean, that is if Joe Biden falls below 20 million, that is a huge.
Well, and this is why I think a lot of his former aides and confidants are saying, shoot, maybe we need to do something here, and we're thinking about starting a super PAC. Maybe there's something we can do. But the other piece here is, to me, money isn't everything. It's about how you spend that money. $25 million for Bernie is extremely impressive, right? It shows he has, there was 150,000 new donors this time around, this quarter. The question is, what are you doing with those resources? Are you running the professional operation that's needed to win? To me, that's number one question Bernie has to ask.
I look at this from a different perspective, I think that's an important question, absolutely. What are you doing with it? Are you using it effectively? But even maybe more important to me in terms of thinking about who should be the nominee and who should actually be the president, who they would be accountable to, is how you raise the money.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think it is remarkable that very likely, as Sagar just said, the two candidates, Sanders and Warren, who have committed to grassroots fundraising in the primary, are probably going to beat out Biden, the front runner, who's doing it the traditional way.
That's the first time that will have ever happened.
Yes.
And it's very important. It's crazy and very important. Why? $170 million the GOP and Trump announced raising this quarter, a record number, and it is extremely scary.
Same level of grassroots support, actually.
It is tremendously scary, and we're going to need to combat that.
Yeah, Julia, what do you make of that?
I mean, I think it just shows how much the fundraising apparatus has really changed. And I think if Biden falls below that 20 million mark, I think you're going to see his campaign really scrambling to figure this out, because I think right now the focus for these campaigns are Iowa and New Hampshire. We know that in those two states there are a lot of progressive grassroots activists. Right now it seems like Biden, he's killing the game in South Carolina. I mean, I think there was a poll out yesterday.
60%.
Yeah, 20% ahead. Very much of a lead there. But Warren and Sanders right now, especially in terms of fundraising, they're going to do better in states like Iowa and New Hampshire. But Biden still needs those states before he goes to South Carolina.
Quick prediction before we go. Who will drop out? Who is likely to drop out in this next quarter? Yeah.
Gosh,
I know it's a hard one.
You never know. You know, I think I won't say who will definitively drop out, but I think we're going to be looking at people like Michael Bennett, maybe Julian Castro, who, you know, like I said before, donors are going to be speaking to these candidates and saying, look, what's the path forward? And, you know, I think a lot of these candidates, they understand that they're probably not going to get the nomination.
Sure.
Right now they're angling for cabinet positions.
Yeah.
What do you think, Andrew?
Look, the November debate is an important threshold. Castro says he's going to drop out if he doesn't make that.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at Castro, Klobuchar. I didn't even remember Michael Bennett, so we'll throw him. we'll throw him in there.
Bullock is still in there, right?
Bullock, I guess too.
Bennett, for the record, he promises he's staying
Iowa
until New Hampshire.
But look, I got to tell you, I think John Delaney is not dropping out. It was announced yesterday that I guess 2 more of his top staffers have departed the campaign, and he's still sticking with it. So I think you will see John Delaney there through Iowa.
Yeah,
Klobuchar
is going to be an interesting one to watch.
Especially since Iowa is right next to her home state.
Right, absolutely. Well, thank you so much to you both.
Guys.
Great to be here.
Insights.
Tomorrow on Rising, California's new data privacy law gives citizens control of what data advertisers can collect from them online. We're going to dive into how it could become a national standard.
And after smashing campaign finance records, Bernie Sanders' national co-chair Nina Turner sits down with us for a conversation on where the campaign goes next.
As always, like, share, follow us on all our social media channels. Ask us Rising Qs with the hashtag Rising Qs, whichever social platform you're on. Most importantly, hit subscribe on our YouTube page. Please do it now, and we'll see you
Please do it now. Have a great day, guys.